Porsche 911 GT3. Ferdinand Porsche, the founder of Porsche. The model number 911, first revealed at the International Automobilausstellung in Frankfurt, Germany, 1963. Originally as a successor to the Porsche 356, but under a name you might not recognize it as. 82 cars were made under the name 901. The French car maker Peugeot didn't really like this.
They were sued in world court by Peugeot in France.
They declared their ownership over the naming rights of every single three-digit number with a 0 in the middle of it.
And they won the lawsuit. And Porsche was forced to change the name of the car after they had already produced 83 cars. And they didn't have a lot of money budgeted for the car. So the least expensive way for them to rename the car was to take the 0 out of the middle and put another 1 there. And the car became known as the 911.
The GT3 comes from Cup Grand Touring cars.
It's basically a series for dream cars.
To ensure racing stayed competitive, interesting, and safe, the FIA created classes for different levels of racing.
We have cars front engines, the car rear engines, the car with engine. So FIA tries to find a balance to make sure that all the cars are very competitive.
You have the GT1 and GT2 classes, who are made for the fastest cars that the manufacturers can possibly produce, usually with a huge amount of aero and engine upgrades.
And think of this very much as an exclusive meeting of the most expensive hypercars in the world. £3.5 million for a Pagani Huayra R. And similar value for the Lamborghini SCV12. I counted 4 of those.
GT3 is the slowest out of the 3 since it has a lot of strict limitations on chassis modifications and other regulations.
I would say everything is maybe one step down in terms of technology, downforce, tire grip.
The GT3, we have ABS and we have same tires for everybody.
But why would Porsche name some of the best cars in their lineup after what is basically just a set of rules and regulations that make high-performance cars have less performance to ensure fairness of racing in races all around the world? To understand what makes this class so special, we must first understand what the process of homologating a car is.
The GT3 class is tailor-made for the needs of customer racing, which means that a manufacturer builds cars, but instead of going racing themselves and entering the cars as works teams, they make them available for purchase by teams from around the world, which then run them in various competitions.
GTE cars are bespoke racing cars, built for the racetrack by factory-owned teams. Think F1. Machines built from the ground up to go as fast as possible, but utterly impractical and completely illegal on regular streets. GT3 cars, on the other hand, are based off of production vehicles for sale to the public.
Teams can order a car like in a dealership, so they can run it all over the world. The running costs are not so expensive. An engine like this can be run more than 15,000 kilometers without any reversion.
The cars cost approximately £200,000 each, and then to run them for the season is probably about another 200,000. That's paid for by the drivers and their sponsors. Basically, it's a combination of wealthy gentlemen drivers who are into their racing and some young guys who are trying to make their name in GT racing.
In motorsport, homologation means assessing the compliance of a newly developed car with technical regulations of a given class of cars, and then freezing its specification. Cars may be a little less technologically advanced than those in GTE specification, but they're more cost-effective, are well suited to the needs of drivers of all experience levels, produce great racing, and most importantly, offer the FIA World Endurance Championship a great variety of makes and models.
Of course, production-based doesn't always mean mass-produced. Often only the bare minimum level of sales are made to the public to ensure that the vehicle hasn't been solely created for racing. The production vehicles that end up on the racetrack, of course, have a lot of modifications done to them. But even with those modifications, GT3 is still the slowest out of the three. What makes it so important? Sales.
We have around 50 manufacturers who are involved in this straight category, and we have more or less homologated around 4,000 cars in this period.
GT3 it is the biggest racing platform in the world.
Bespoke one-out-of-one hypercars don't usually have any resemblance to a street-legal counterpart, and they're not trying to. GT1 and GT2 classes allow for more flexibility, especially in chassis modifications, and they utilize that flexibility to push performance to its limits. The GT3 class, on the other hand, has quite a few limitations, often leaving key features of their production counterparts, especially design-wise, intact for the world to see. It's a win-win. People get to see cars that are reasonably expensive, being driven in races that feel grounded by drivers that might have a little less experience. It kind of makes it feel more relatable, if that makes sense. The manufacturers can profit from the car enthusiasts watching, who are more likely to have a larger but still realistic and attainable budget, while racking up awards to plaster their sales pages with. Isn't that right, Porsche?